And now to the Minchia Palace. The Asantehene Otumfuo Seititu II has cautioned government and political actors to stay vigilant against activities that may disrupt the fairness of the 2024 general elections. While marking his 25th anniversary celebration, the Asantehene served notice to stakeholders to safeguard the integrity of the electoral process.
Yeah, it's another election year. Our political leaders are already on the campaign trail, and there's yet many months of intense and combative campaigning ahead. After all our past experiences, I remain sanguine that our democracy is safe. Nonetheless, we need to remind ourselves that we cannot take things for granted, and we must be alert to avoid anything that has the potential to derail the electoral process. So people need the right environment in which they can make informed choices in the interest of the nation. May we forever drink from the fountain of peace, and may our efforts in the years ahead be crowned with the grace of the living God and the prosperity that flows from our tireless effort.
And meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has expressed gratitude to the Asantehene for his contribution to the socio-economic development of the country since his installment as king.
Otumfuo's commitment to the welfare of his people, coupled with his strong leadership, has earned him the respect and admiration of all. Under his reign, his dedication to improving the lives of his subjects and preserving the rich cultural heritage of Asante has been truly commendable, helping to ensure access to education for thousands and thousands of young Ghanaian children through the Otumfuo Education Fund, joining the fight against the spread of HIV and AIDS, re-energizing and modernizing the institution of chieftaincy, and putting an end to unnecessary chieftaincy disputes within Asante are but a few of his many achievements and successes as Asantehene. But perhaps what sets Otumfuo Seititu II apart is his tireless advocacy for peace, reconciliation, and national cohesion. In a world fraught with division and discord, Otumfuo has been a steadfast voice for unity and understanding, both within Asante and beyond.
Away from Asantehene's Silver Jubilee celebrations, the recent downpour in parts of the country has dealt a heavy blow to the infrastructure of the Anlo Senior High School in the Volta region. The school, already reeling under the inadequate infrastructure, resort to using a makeshift dining hall and kitchen. But the massive wind accompanying the recent heavy rains has destroyed the roofing of key buildings on campus. Headmaster and students of the school, as well as their MP, are calling for help. There's more in the following report.
The Anlo Senior High School has thousands of students are facing acute infrastructural challenges, with many of the buildings decades old and in dire need of urgent renovation. The recent rainfall has caused an even greater damage to the existing facilities, as headmaster of the school, Wisdom Kwame Adeti, tells the news team.
Currently, we have a windy rainstorm that has caused a lot of devastation to the structures I have in the school. Currently, my ICT lab, physics lab, agric, visual art, assembly shed, and other buildings have been ripped off. The most serious one is my kitchen. The kitchen and the temporary dining hall built for the school since 2012. For the fact that the actual dining hall being built for us since 2012 has not been completed. And when we had a rainstorm, the kitchen and the dining hall have been totally destroyed. As we speak, my kitchen staff cook under the vagaries of the weather.
The headmaster is appealing to government to complete an abandoned dining hall, which construction started in 2012.
The dining hall complex that is being built from the school since 2012 should be completed. The moment it's completed, we have a kitchen apartment in it, store everything so that the kitchen women can move there and cook for my students. So that is a plea I would like to make. 2 dining hall, 2 girls' dormitory blocks have also been ripped off, and I've been able to roof it since we are in a rainy season. If I don't pay urgent attention to that, the student will be in the rain, which will not augur well for the school.
Students of the school are worst affected as they make most use of these facilities. Some prefects have been making an urgent appeal for help.
Our kitchen, and the last time we had a downpour, this is the situation right now. The kitchen is down, and our ICT lab, and our chemistry, the physics lab. Seriously, the rain has caused a lot of damages, and we are appealing to the government to come to our aid because the school authorities cannot do it alone. From roofing sheets down to furniture, everything, we need almost everything. When it comes to girls' hostel right now, we have new hostel, but we don't have washrooms. Right now, about 800 plus girls, boarders, are suffering from one pit. Because of this, some of our girls had to go out just to ease themselves. We are really suffering.
As you can see, our dining hall have been ripped off by the wind, and also we don't have an assembly shed and hostels as well. We expect the government to respond to our need as quickly as possible.
The District Chief Executive Officer of Angloga described the situation as catastrophic, a situation the budget of his assembly cannot deal with.
There was a rain, but at the end the rain came with a rainstorm. So after the rain, we went out to see them damage. But when we went out, it's not easy. I didn't see that thing in my life before, especially our public schools. When you go to Futa School, it's a newly, one of the new secondary school in my district here. At the end, the roof of all their building where they are having class is not there. And when you go to Anglon Secondary School also, the same thing. And other public schools, especially if we go to Koji, Alakple, Angloga Isef, Agove, Aklautoko.
MP for the area, Richard Kwame Sefe, has already moved in to help, but the community needs more help to be able to completely deal with the damages caused by the rainfall.
My rounds this morning points to the fact that still, because of today's rain itself, has caused more havoc, adding to the already precarious nature. How things are unfolding means that the assembly and my good self cannot just shoulder the problem. I know NADMO went around, picked the data, and they sent the data to Ho and Accra. For now, my plea is that government should help NADMO to supply a few bundles of roofing sheets and nails so that those individual people can also get some support.
When the news team visited, it was still raining, compounding the already precarious situation. The plea of students and authorities is to government: come to our aid urgently, or as the rain set in and intensify, there will be more damage.
And now to some election stories. President of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, Yao Cabrese V, has appealed to the government to work towards fast-tracking the construction of the Atebi-Bukwame Dancer Highway, which has been abandoned by contractors for the past year. He made this call in Techiman during a meeting with the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, as part of a tour of the new region. Anna Savit has more.
The creation of our region has brought us many blessings in infrastructural development and other things. Among the notable buildings completed are the Regional Coordinating Council Office, the Regional Agri Office Complex, the Regional Health Directories, the Regional Gender Rules Office Complex,
This is the president of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, Pimampim Yao Kagbese V, commending the Nanado-led government for the creation of the Bono East region, which according to him has brought numerous developmental projects to the area. Pimampim Yao Kagbese V, who was speaking in a meeting with the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in Techiman as part of his tour of the region, was however quick to draw the attention of the government over the neglect of some major road infrastructure in the area, which includes the almighty Atewu Kwame Danso Road.
I must not hesitate to bring to the government's attention some of the reaching villages facing us. First, the Atewu Kwame Danso Road is on contract, but work has stalled for a long time. Meanwhile, it is one of the notable routes from where many people and agricultural products are carted to various parts of the country and beyond.
Dr. Bawumia on his part reiterated government's commitment towards addressing the developmental needs of the people of the area, hence the creation of the new region.
Regional creation now, since 1983, government began creating another region, the democratic dispensation. But governments be very by but ye abaye by ye kase ye be nintina ye de by ye kase ye de ba mpuntu baba ampaso mpuntu no so ashia se eba.
He was also quick to disclose government's intention towards addressing the smuggling of goods from Togo to Ghana by introducing an import duty system that is equal or lower to that of Togo.
On the import side, we shall say, yene Togo, yeben pa, Accra, Tema Port, any lumi, ebeng, eti, ye duty nam, a higher, nipa smuggling every Togo. Omum tuya duty wa Ghana, no more be a fat Togo, no more smuggling at the Ghana. Eti made the policy for eba, say, Ghana import duty, no, it will never be higher than the Togo import duty. It will be the same or it will be lower, but never higher. You understand no smuggling no ebitra.
He also assured the Nanano of the area that the NPP administration would never accept the legalization of the activities of LGBTQ in the country, which according to him is against the norms of the Ghanaian society.
LGBTQ Pesebunim se Makadada, me Kabio, Ghana Hadia, me Embasso. Yet we don't accept it. Your values as Ghanaians, no way. As Muslims, no way. As Christians, no way. Embasso China. No issue.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
Now, away from election stories, Geisha says it is committed to fostering meaningful connections and spread joy among families and communities. Geisha celebrated mothers at a special event to commemorate them at the Makers House Chapel in Accra. There's more in the following report.
Under the auspices of its mother brand, Unilever Ghana, Geisha, the renowned personal care brand, joined the rest of the world in celebrating mothers for their tireless service to their families and the larger community. Mothers deserve happiness, and this theme formed the bedrock of Geisha's efforts to make mothers feel special on what is a special day across the world. Brand marketing manager Derek Bossman shared with media the reason the company embarked on this initiative.
happens to be Mother's Day, and we all know that in an African home and globally, mothers play a very crucial role in families. So what we try to do each and every year is to go to social places where we can find a lot of mothers and help celebrate with them. You know, for Geisha, we believe that we are a strong soap that has long-lasting care. And a better way to show people about long-lasting care is by our mantra, which we say, Olastama. So today we are here at the Makers Chapel, located at Atomic. We are here to celebrate mothers. This is part of Geisha's purpose. You know, at Unilever, we believe that brands with purpose grow. And at Geisha, we believe that mothers play a very crucial role in today's world and in today's society. We believe that our soap is a strong soap that has long-lasting care. Hence our tagline, Olastama. And a better way to depict our brand mantra, Olastama, is to tell people about the kind of love that a mother has for the child. Whether it's a 70-year-old or a 6-year-old, a mother's love for a child is still the same and it lasts long. So on Friday, we were with our influencer and ambassador Gifty Auntie to help donate to newborn mothers at the Tema General Hospital. We gave about 20 hampers, and then later in the afternoon, we went all the way to Tamale to celebrate with the mothers, the Muslim mothers there as well at the Alpha Jura Mosque in Tamale. Then today on Sunday here, we are here at the Makers House Chapel to help celebrate mothers. It's a great opportunity to tell our mothers that we appreciate them, we care for them, and as usual, the love that we have for them and the love they have for us is long-lasting, just like Geisha or Olastama.
Geisha generously distributed giveaways of their premium products, symbolizing not only the brand's commitment to quality but also dedication to nurturing relationships within the community. Adding to the festivities were an array of delightful side attractions, including photography sessions where mothers and their loved ones could preserve the special day for years to come. Some mothers shared with us their thoughts about the day and expressed heartfelt appreciation for the thoughtful gesture extended by Geisha and Unilever Ghana.
Mothers are supposed to be celebrated because we give our all. I'm not a mother yet, but I see my mother go through a lot, struggle to take care of all of us. So I think that mothers are worthy to be celebrated. And we are so glad that Unilever and Geisha decided to surprise us at the Makers House. We are so grateful for what you've done. And we pray you continue to do this every year.
I think it's a very thoughtful initiative for bringing Geisha to the church and for telling us how coming to wish mothers a happy Mother's Day, because mothers are the users and the buyers of Geisha soup, and it's a household name. So I believe that it's a good initiative and we'll continue to patronize Geisha.
I'm so elated about what Geisha has done. I've never experienced this before. I feel so proud to be a mother, and motherhood has been a very stressful, although enjoyable situation. But today I feel very proud. I feel very happy to be a mother. Thank you so much, Geisha. I'm proud of you.
Mother's Day is very, very important because it's not easy to go through, to carry a baby, labor and all that, and to take care of the baby and all. So Mother's Day is very, very important. It's a day to remember what mothers do, every parent, everybody. And Geisha, I have known Geisha since, so this thing Geisha has done is very lovely and we are very happy. I got a gift from Geisha. My mother also received a gift up there. So we appreciate them and we love him.
In commemorating Mother's Day, Geisha reaffirmed its commitment to fostering meaningful connections and spreading joy within communities, one heartwarming gesture at a time.
It was a joyous time at the maternity unit of the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, where mothers were celebrated by A-Life Soap, brand of Wilma Africa, as the world marked Mother's Day. Under its Mami Mo campaign, the company made special donation of some personal and home care gifts, including soaps and other toiletries. There's more in the following report.
Motherhood is not only a title but comes bearing responsibilities on all females ushered into this part of life cycle. From protecting their offsprings and ensuring their proper upbringing, the responsibility of mothers is uniquely defined and appreciated in society. Lucy Asari shares her experience as a mother.
Being a mother is very great, and when the moment you give birth, like you feel like different in women, and being single without a mother, like you see yourself as, oh, you are okay. At the moment you had a baby, like you now have a responsibilities to like carry. You'll be breastfeeding. When growing up to, you'll be doing different things that you being single, like you won't feel being single again. It's very great. It's very nice to be a mother.
In celebrating their efforts and determination to cater for their family, Wilma Africa's A-Life sub-brand made donations to the maternity unit of the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. Under its Mamimo campaign, the company handed some souvenirs including toiletries, personal and home care items to the mothers. Senior midwife at the maternity unit of Kath, Gifty Salom, explains the gesture came at the opportune time as some mothers struggle to purchase them.
Sometimes the mothers that come here are really mothers in need. They really need help in terms of toiletries, in terms of soap, detergent to wash their baby's cot sheets, to even cater for their personal hygiene. But sometimes they don't have any help from anywhere, and sometimes you have to go out of our way to personally help them as nurses or as a unit. But for Jamal Group to think of us and on this special occasion as Mother's Day to come in to be able to support them, we are really, really grateful, and we wish more of this will come for the mothers.
For the mothers, it was a day well celebrated.
For say Mother's Day, you will have to cry, or if you be a friend in Rishino, but Munimi da, Makaye, na and your wishing keke, but something is attached to it. God bless you people.
Na de mi kan se nyami shira mu nyina che se obi ndowa onye wado on kai wo na so mo atima a nya tima bia maye abeye ya do ye kese we nyami shira mu.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bratsquico.
And that's it for the AM News, but it certainly isn't the end of the show because Benjamin Akakpo and Sweetie Abochi have some interesting conversations lined up just for you. After this break, we have the news review with Dr. Kwame Asasante. He's political scientist at the University of Ghana, Legon. My name is Denise Yapomaeje. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Happy Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day to all mothers. Belated Happy Mother's Day. You are superheroes. The things that mothers do, it's simply inexplicable, but you do it every day. Thank you for doing it for us. Benjamin, Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I play the role of mother to a number of children, but it was a wonderful Mother's Day experience, and thankfully I was able to reach out to most of my mothers. I can shout them out. My biological mother, Susie Akakpo, and then my second mother, I call her Momzi. Okay. Susanna Amanua Ankra. There's Madam Victoria Kudao, Madam Veronica Blebo, Madam Mariose. I mean, it's a tall list. And Sati among all of them who have made us, who we are. Fran Craig as well, all the way in the US. My mothers are many. Yeah. The influences are many. Yesterday, I got one of them teary because I sent her a message reminding her that sometime in 2006, 2007, she encouraged me to start reading in church. She was like, oh, she saw something that I didn't necessarily. I'm a very shy person. Yes, I am. I'm very bashful.
Okay. Keep going.
She saw stuff in me, encouraged me, and till today I read in church. I'm a lector. Yeah. So these figures, they have a great impact in you.
Yeah, yes, collective effort.
And actually, one thing though, I had people sending me messages saying, we love you and we are grateful for the mother who gave birth to you.
Yes.
Like they were celebrating my mother through me. And I felt, wow, okay.
Because your
she
mother
didn't
did a
do
good job.
badly at all.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well.
There we go. Away from Mother's Day, let's get into the newspapers. I couldn't see my mom this past weekend.
Oh.
I spent the weekend just sleeping.
Sleeping.
Right, but Dr. Kwame Asasante is our guest, but before we bring him in...
Let me quickly just get to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Of course, they help us bring you this segment every weekday morning, and they're offering you prostate screening if you're a man, fertility screening if you're a woman. All you have to do is check them out at any of their branches, starting from here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma Way here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanso and Esiamanzama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review with Dr. Kwame Asasante. He's a political scientist at the University of Ghana, also director of the Center for European Studies at that same institution. Do you have something for us, Sweetie Abochi?
Mother's Day just coming in. It says, would you consider supporting a mother and or a child seeking refuge from abuse today? If you are interested or if you're touched and you want to just contribute to elevating some of the plights of these mothers and children, send some donations to 0243 777773. That's a number you can remember, 0243 777773. And if you're a father, thank you for being there for the women in our life. Thank you for caring. Team ARC. That's a beautiful message. And if you're really touched, please do well to send some coins for the greater good.
Not just coins. We want,
Yeah. I mean, kids were being, so I'm just saying
we
that,
want cloth money
our
too.
target is not just the rich and wealthy, but any little helps, So it's from Angela Boaji Jamina.
Right.
Thank you for this initiative. It's beautiful. Right. Did you already bring in Dr. Kwame Asasante? I wasn't...
yes, I was just about to usher him in. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, friends. And how are you doing?
We are fantastic.
Well. We're doing well this morning. We hope you had a fantastic Mother's Day celebration. We know you would also have mothers apart from your biological mother. So any stories to share briefly before you get into your thoughts for us?
Oh, yes. I salute all women. They own this country and they own us. They have brought us this far. I can't talk about women without talking about my late mother who brought me this far. And every mother, if you see the work that they do, so amazing. I salute them and I'll forever salute every woman.
We salute you right back, Doc.
Without them, we can live as human beings. I can say that without fear of contradiction. Yes.
Anyway, our very first educators, caregivers, chefs, everything in there. But any quick thoughts for us before we go, maybe in about a minute?
Yes.
I know there's a lot that has happened.
Yes. I will touch on galamsey and cocoa.
Right.
I think last week you and I were alive to a story that were aired on this platform about the way galamsey is, taking our lands and affecting cocoa production to the extent that when farmers want to spray their cocoas, they have no water. They need to get sachet water. They need to get small vehicles to transport water to the farms and all that. It comes back to one thing. And I want to remind this nation that this country's mainstay is on cocoa. If we do away with cocoa, the condition we'll find ourselves in today is going to be worse. So we should take note. The other point is that if you look at what cocoa has done for us, it's amazing that we are joking with it. In the 1930s, Ghana was the leading producer of cocoa, catering for about a quarter of the world's output, Ghana alone. We try to build this country based on cocoa. A lot of things we have done and survived on was based on cocoa. In recent times, we've had galamsey and we are destroying arable lands meant for cocoa production. Even where cocoa trees exist, people are pulling them away and then making sure that they get into the soil to find what minerals. It's a sorry story, to say the least, that we will destroy the land that we have that produce cocoa for us, and then get us financial resources to support our effort. We are destroying it. And government doesn't care a hoot about what is happening. All that government cares is come out with the rhetorics, we are doing this, we are doing that. It doesn't work anyway. But we should be mindful of the fact that nobody can build this country for us. We can do it. If we don't want to do it, yes, we're going to suffer together. My worry, apart from everything, is the threat that galamsey activities pose to what? The industry. To the extent that now some international organizations are even threatening that if we don't stop galamsey activities, and they will stop buying cocoa from us, because they are seeing some little things in our cocoa that doesn't that come from the galamsey activities. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Right. Yes. The last thing I want to touch on is the constitution that we have, which says that we will live at peace with all neighbors or all peoples of the world. Is that what we want to do? Look at this cocoa galamsey activity. We are now polluting waters that get to places like Ivory Coast and all that, and they are complaining because this is not how we live with our neighbors. But meanwhile, back home, we create the impression that this is a peaceful country, we love peace, we love our neighbors. Is that what we are doing? Please, we need to fix this problem. And it is not the duty of the government alone, even though they take the bulk of the responsibility. We as a society, we should be able to stand up and say this nonsense must cease. And I'm talking about every individual, community leaders, chiefs, opinion leaders, and all of us. We should make sure that this game is over. Otherwise, a day will come, there will be no Ghana. There will be no water for us. There will be no cocoa for us. And where we will find food, only God knows.
Only God knows. And on that note, let's get into the papers, Dr. Kwame Asante. Starting with the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, it says, our democracy is safe, according to Otumfuo. That is on the back of the 25th Silver Jubilee celebration. And then Speaker summons MPs after majority demand. Collins Dawuda arrested over voter registration violence. Trinidad and Tobago supports Ghana's Commonwealth bid. Baumia takes campaign to Northeast. Let's start. This is the Daily Guide newspaper. Let's start with Collins Dawuda's case because it's, interesting to our election process, this limited voter registration exercise, and so many statements that the police have brought out on the back of the violence and some of the issues that are going on. The story is on page 3, and it reads, the Member of Parliament for Otumfuo South in the Ahafo region, Collins Dawuda, has been arrested in connection with the violence that broke out at Kukum during the ongoing limited voter registration exercise on Saturday. The Ghana Police Service, in a statement, said the National Democratic Congress, MP, was taken into custody following the arrest. The statement indicated that one person sustained injury and was taken to a hospital where he's currently receiving treatment. Meanwhile, the police service has also revealed that 3 of its officers have been interdicted with immediate effect for failing to perform their duties professionally during the ongoing limited registration exercise. The affected policemen are Inspector Michael Ado, General Constable Eric Boachi, and General Constable Michael Jan. This all happened over the weekend. I'll put a pin in it to do 2 more stories before we take our reactions to them. We can beat time. Our democracy is safe, according to Otumfuo Osei Tutu. The Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu has expressed confidence in the country's ability to once again go through a smooth and peaceful national elections on December 7th. According to him, the country has since 1992 gone through peaceful presidential and parliamentary elections every 4 years, leading to change of government without any major problem. So he was expecting the same this year. Now, to my final story before we take our reactions, I want to do the story about the recall of Parliament, and that story should be on page 6. Indeed, it's on page 6. Now, The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin, has summoned members of Parliament to the House for sitting on Friday. The summons for MPs to appear in the House comes after members of the Majority Caucus triggered a process to demand the recall of Parliament after the Speaker adjourned the House sine die on March 20th, 2024. Now, Majority Leader Alexander Penyo-Markin told the media on 3rd May that the caucus members had no choice but to assert their right under Article 112, Clause 3 of the Constitution. And there are so many issues that, were paused because Parliament took a break. And I'm wondering if this recall back would give them enough time to discuss all those, including the vetting of ministers, this anti-LGBT matter back and forth, and so many other issues. Dr. Kwame Asasanti, these 3 stories for your quick reactions before I come back to Benjamin. I know you have a lot to say.
Yes, I think I will start with the Collins Dowda story. I have read, but the police were short of giving us what really transpired. And they've not given us the full accounts. So as at now, it's difficult for me to know what exactly happened so as to comment on. But I will look at, the registration and the problems associated generally in Ghana. We should know that voter registration is an important exercise if you want to ensure free and fair election. There's a need for you to get a roll or a list. That is what foolproof. That is what correct by law, and that will be able to stand the test of time. This means that you need to be able to create the enabling environment for people to register and get their names into the register properly. This is a function of what? Law and the workings of the election management body, the Electoral Commission. Is the Electoral Commission performing the role that is supposed to perform effectively? That's $1 million question to answer. I know that they are doing their best, but these problems keep recurring. It tells you that there is more that EC must put their shoulders to and be able to address it head on. Because any effect in this process is likely to undermine or compromise the electoral process. And that you and I, we are not interested in the outcome. So going forward, I'll urge the EC to put its foot down and make sure that the right things are done and all these lingering challenges become nothing but a thing of the past. I'll move on to Otumfuo's statement, and I want to take the opportunity to also salute Otumfuo for the anniversary and all that he has done. He has contributed a lot towards building Ashanti Nation, helping to build this country, and then every time he keeps on talking one thing or another about stability of the state, governance of it, and etc., etc. We salute him and we wish him well and we pray for him for long life. But back to the issue we talk about, our democracy is safe. I support that call too, and I share in that opinion. Our democracy is safe. We have gone through a lot, and how far we have come, we are all aware. Time will not permit us to recount them. We have done well in the area of human rights, which is a tenet of democracy. We've done well in the area of media freedom, area of elections, political participation, and the rest of them. But having said all this, right, there are problems that we still face relative to our democratic forward march. And part of it is traceable to one, issue of some negative records affecting our human rights report. And if you read the U.S. State Department report on human rights, it's replete with examples of police brutalities, and the rest of them.
Right.
We need to work well and remove all these things. Issue of corruption is affecting the quality of our democracy that we have, and we need to fix that. An issue of economic decadence, right, is gradually undermining the fortunes of this democratic enterprise. We need to put our acts together and make sure that we fix this so that our democratic forward march will be stronger and we will be the best, people to receive the dividend of democracy from. Democracy, I can tell you, is better than any imposed or military regime, however beneficial it may be to their people.
Right.
I will stand for democracy every day, every time. Then the speaker called for members of parliament to come in to continue the business of parliament, because parliament was, suspended or rose in Senate. Yes, now they are coming back because there are lots on their plate now. They have to come and deal with the approval of ministerial appointment, and deputy ministerial appointment. They have to come and continue with other unfinished businesses. It is my hope and prayer that all these things will be done and done well, so that we can finish this electoral year peacefully, and then we are able to make the best for ourselves.
All right. Benjamin, should I get into other papers, or do you have some reactions?
Yeah, we can get into other stories.
Okay.
We'll be delving into some of these electoral issues later on the show. So.
Okay, so the New Finder newspaper now. On the front page, prominent Christian leaders back elevation of women in politics. Moms in the spotlight. Kumasi airports to handle 800,000 passengers annually. Ridge Hospital, Z Multimedia showers mothers with gifts. Let's do the story about the Kumasi airport to take 800,000 passengers annually. And the story is on page 8 of the New Finder newspaper. After that, I'll just do some quick headlines, and then we take reactions and then move on. Looks like we are racing against time here. So the Kumasi airport, President Otumfuo commissioned the Prempeh International Airport in Kumasi to enhance Ghana's air travel with a glowing tribute to the late Asante King, whose memory has been honored. Now, phase 2 of the Kumasi Airport project paved way for the construction of the terminal building. Also included in phase 2 are apron and runway extensions totaling 2,300 meters to accommodate B737-800 in line with the International Civil Aviation Organization aerodrome classifications. That's that. Foreign healthcare companies eager to tap into Ghana's growing business opportunities. Moms in the spotlight. In tourism, arts and culture, Guru seeks University of Ghana's SRC presidency. I don't know what you think about that, Dr. Kwame Asante. And Team Eternity have been in the news for 2 weeks straight, and they've released their third live recorded album, dubbed Testimony. Final funeral rites for Koda slated for June 5th. Kofi Kinata officially unveils debut EP, Kofi O Kofi. That was also in the news last week. Nyankrom youth demonstrate over abandoned bridge, bad road networks. Prominent Christian leaders back elevation of women in politics. I'll just do that story a bit just to bring us up to speed. 2 prominent Christian leaders have added their voice to call for political parties to elevate females to high positions of power. Presiding Bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana, Dr. Paul Kwabena-Boafo, and Reverend Enoch Ninya Thompson, Executive President of the Ghana Baptist Convention. They are the ones backing the calls for political parties to elevate women in power. Any quick reactions on that before Benjamin takes over?
Yes, I'll look at female, the call to elevate women to high position in politics. It's an important call, and we have said it time and again that every democracy that has survived based on the use of its human resources, both males and females. So you can't do without women. Their inclusion is important because they have a lot of backgrounds, expertise that we need in the administration of the state. But if you come and look at issue like governance, where elective positions is what we are talking about, where people elect people into offices, there are a lot of things that work against women in the attempt to get to public offices, and I agree with that. I concede. But there are some also challenges that are also born from out of women-owned, actions. Look at this country. When we are voting, for instance, the number of women in this country outnumber that of men. But when we are voting, you see women voting against women. Why am I saying this? Because if women are a majority, and we said, where you see a woman, vote for a woman. If you see a woman, vote for a woman. Do you think any man can win election in this country?
No.
So once we get that thing, that women are not being voted for, then we must really do self-introspection and see why is it. And it is clear that women vote against women. And this, if we want to deal with it, this must also be factored into some of the factors that really affect women's chances of being in public office. It is true that sometimes it's the deliberate effort on political parties not to include them, societal pressure, and a host of other things. But this factor which I'm talking about cannot also be shoved under the carpet.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Benjamin.
The only thing I'll add, I've been a firm advocate of women in authority, but I'll also say the picture shouldn't be painted as like the equality, equity situation. We should vote for people based on merit. Are they going to be able to do the work? Do they qualify? Rather than it is male and it is female. I think that is the bottom line. If the person can do it and that person is female, vote for that person. Let that person have the opportunity of doing it. If the person is male, let that person do it. But at the same time, where there are wide discrepancies, like we've had with affirmative action in our institutions of higher learning, where at a point you had so many more men versus a paucity of women, there you can have affirmative action. And one place where we can bring that to bear is in Parliament, for example. It's woeful. And we have to, work on some of that. Recently, when the district level elections were held, a lot of the DCs, a few of them who were even female, were taken off, and it doesn't bode well for our democratic practice. But, Doc, I'll go very quickly through the Daily Graphic newspaper. Otumfuo celebrates Akwesi to climax Silver Jubilee. Mother's Day celebration, the Mirror honors Hollister Duayentumi. 3i Summit opens in Accra yesterday. Your welfare paramount to us, Finance Minister tells GRA officers. But I'll do the story and then 2 more on the international, or 3 more. Power sector challenges. Payment system suffocates VRA. Senior staff want reform. So the Senior Staff Association of the Volta River Authority says an arrangement that remits $43 million to independent power producers every month is threatening the operational capacity of the state-owned energy generation facilities. The group further stated that the state-owned enterprises in the energy value chain, especially the VRA, were disadvantaged by the arrangement as they were not fully paid, and where some payments were made, they were not adequate to compensate for foreign exchange losses. This has been a problem, so that money is held, and even when it is paid, because of our constant depreciation as far as the currency is concerned, you are not able to make the difference. And that is how ECG, for example, ended up in its precarious situation. 2 stories, 3 on the international front. Some I'll just read headlines. Chad's President Deby wins the election. I'm sure you'd be interested in that. Mali National Dialogue recommends junta rule extension. I'm talking about Senor or Monsieur Goita, Assimi Goita, who is going to remain in power per that recommendation. But then being part Nigerian is humbling. Guess who says that? Meghan Markle. And she had a genealogy test, and it was found that she had her roots in Nigeria. She had some linkage to Nigeria. I'll do 2 stories on Israel, one on page 5. Egypt declares intention to join South Africa's ICJ case. Now, Egypt says it will formally join the lawsuit filed by South Africa against Israel at the International Court of Justice, which accuses Israel of violating its obligations under the Genocide Convention in the Gaza Strip. Israeli military tanks have started to go deeper into the Jabalia refugee camp as part of a new offensive in northern Gaza, according to our correspondent. The offensive, which has forced thousands of Palestinians to flee, comes months after Israel declared Hamas had been dismantled in the area. While I agree that the carnage must stop, and that has always been my position, I always say, there's a saying in Tree that I've forgotten. If someone remembers, you can let me know. You see, something like that. There will not be a reaction, right? And I feel that this has become, as in political science we'll say, one of the intractable conflicts in our world. On both sides, whatever killing, whatever hostage situation has happened, you can't fail to see the pain. I've been in war, the pain of the people of Palestine. But you also cannot fail to see the agony of some Israelis and their relatives still being held. Comments about rape and all that. Then in Palestine, the suffering must stop. But let's not pretend it is from one end only. It is from both ends. Which brings me to my next story on page 9. Ban on arms sales to Israel will strengthen Hamas. That's according to former UK PM Cameron. He says a UK ban on selling arms to Israel would only strengthen Hamas, the Foreign Secretary has told the BBC. That is actually the Foreign Secretary. Now, Lord Cameron said while he would not support a major ground offensive in the Gaza city of Rafah, the UK would not copy US plans to stop arms sales. He said the UK supplies just 1% of Israel's weapons and warned Israel must do more to protect civilians and allow humanitarian aid through. And that's the thinking there. Labour's Jonathan Ashworth said he did not want British-made arms used in Rafah. Your thoughts? These are the stories I'll do in the Daily Graphic newspaper.
I think I'll start with the Israel and Gaza problem. It is a problem which you rightly describe as intractable. The world should find solution to this, because from the point of view of Israel and that of what the Palestinians, there appear to be a great problem. We need to fix this thing once and for all, because you and I know that when that place is affected, it really undermines governance in various parts of the world, if not all parts of the world, because of oil production and the rest of them. So I believe that the world should take a critical look at the situation and find lasting solution. If the world want to address the problem, I'm sure it is not out of reach of the powers that be in this world to bring it to a close. I will move on to look at Mali, and now the authorities there have been giving a blanket check, as it were, to continue administering. It's unfortunate that you have military adventurers giving the power to continue and all that, and you have civilians supporting them. Initially, you feel that, you are okay. But with time, history, the greatest teacher of all times, has taught us that you cannot trust military administration. I mean, it's just a short while and you'll be in a crisis.
Doc, I agree with you, but is it not also because of the failures of our purportedly democratic institutions? Niger, they were getting less than $1 for their, uranium or so, since the military administration took over. And mind you, I have never supported coup d'etats, military escapades in politics, and I never will. But I'm saying, is it not because sometimes our leaders fail to be leaders? They become misleaders and they fail to think. Niger is now earning over $200 per, gram or kilogram of that same resource, right? Their economy is one of the fastest growing, I think the 6th in the world, and I think the 1st in Africa. Burkina Faso, same. These are countries that have experienced military takeovers. Like I'm saying, I'm not saying we have to get there, but I'm saying that if our leaders continue failing to think, what then happens?
Yeah, that is why you and I must stand up and then use the democratic process to get them out. There is no other means apart from democratic process. It's unfortunate that you can have bad leaders with bad governance styles and all that. But how do we address this problem? You can only use the path of democracy to get them out. And this means that it's a collective effort of both leadership and then the people of that country. If you have, people who stand aloof from what is going on, you have a problem like this. We must demand the opportunity to be governed and govern well. Failure to which we punish those people when we get opportunity to visit the polls and then express our selves through elections. More often than not, we glorify these people. We can talk and shout, and when the real time comes for us to change government, we fail to do that, and that has caused it big time. Right. Sure, our people will learn from it and move on. The power sector story about the VRA and what is happening there is unfortunate. I think if this country wants to address this problem forever, we'll be able to do it. And I will not talk more about this because I've said it time and again. This country, we need energy at all times to run the affairs of this country. So if there is something that is undermining our effort to generate energy, we should fix it than spending on unnecessary things such as things I don't want to recount them. We have wasted money so much on that, and yet we have seen nothing. But this energy crisis continues to be a pain in our backs.
Thank you, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, for joining us this morning. We're very grateful for your time. We wish you the very best of the day, sir.
Thank you.
And that is Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Before we go, I hear a little bird has whispered to me yesterday was the birthday, so it was Mother's Day and the birthday of Mary Ada, Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. We wish you a belated happy birthday. May God bless your new age and continue to bless and favor you through all your days, Madam Mary Ada. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helps us bring you this segment every weekday. If you're a man, they're offering you prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Just reach out to them, to their branches dotted across the country. Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma Buehia, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji State, Tema, Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zama. You can also reach them via phone on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. There's more in sports coming up shortly.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports. Here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Next month, Ghana will be hosting about 450 athletes and officials as a country hosts the Confederation of African Athletics Region 2 competition at the University of Ghana. Local Organizing Committee Chairman Dr. Kwame Baniako says that despite the assembly of the LOC quite late, the event will be properly organized.
It's a huge tax, but it's a surmountable tax. I mean, it's something that we need to apply ourselves to. It's work that needs to be done. The notice is short, the time frame to prepare is short, but luckily for us, precedent has been set in terms of what happened at the African Games. The equipments are ready. I mean, so we are not spending a lot of time trying to get equipment in and wondering whether they will be in time or not, or whether they are up to standards or not. So the technical aspect of the games are probably covered. What is left is the operational, finding the money to take care of all the operational issues and coordinating with agencies that provide these services, the security aspect of it, the safety, as well as the medical, the feeding, and the accommodation. These are the key things that are left, and the transportation of athletes and officials from one place to another. So we know that the job is huge, but we know it is possible, and we are preparing ourselves to tackle it. We've already started working, so today's event was just the official inauguration, but we've been working behind the scenes for the past week or two, so we can rest assured that the competition will be properly organized.
Now let's hear from the president of Ghana Athletics, Ba Fusene. He says that the competition serves as an Olympic qualifier, stating that it is quite significant, considering the fact that it is rare to have many federations host an Olympic qualifier twice within a year.
It's very, very important for Ghana to host, especially coming out of the African Games. The expectations of Ghana organizing the perfect competition is very high. The Confederation of African Athletics have also asked certain federations, especially Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal, to rearrange their bronze level competitions so that to make way for this competition. But this competition is also an Olympic qualifier. So the significance of it is very huge. It's not common to see one country or one national federation hosting two international competitions, two Olympic qualifiers in one season. It's not common. It's how you hardly see that. So Ghana, we are very privileged to have that opportunity, and we cannot allow the opportunity to slide by or not to perform to the level that the international community is expecting of us. So the significance of it is huge. They also have confidence in our facility, in our technical ability to hold that program. If they were not satisfied, they will not have even access to host it. This competition was originally supposed to be hosted by Benin. Okay. Yes, it was to host by Benin. But because what they saw what we did and what they knew what Benin can do, they came to us that Ghana, we want you to host the program. We know we can do it, even though time is short. But we will support you with the technical staff to come and help you. That's why they made FATU
Sissoko from Senegal. He was technical delegate for the African Games. They are bringing him back with her assistant from Benin called Okri. They are also delegating the technical director of the Confederation of African Athletics from Morocco. He called Aziz Daouda to also come and support. So there's so much interest. The significance of it is so huge that it will send Ghana beyond Africa. I can tell you when we went to Bahamas, everybody was shaking us. Ghana, it did very well. The games were very good. The game was very good. So we need to continue with that.
Let's talk football now. And the FA Cup semi-final matches happened over the weekend. And Legon Cities came up against Insuatreman. Legon Cities, they lost 2-1 to Insuatreman. And the second leg, the second tie, saw the defending champions, Dreams FC, also come up against Tanop Bofokwa. It was Tanop Bofokwa who secured a 2-1 win to make it to the final of the competition.
Our intended recall. Colleagues in the media may be aware of the fact that on the 20th of March, Mr. Speaker adjourned the House sine die. At the time the House was adjourned sine die, there were 3 items of urgent importance to government that had been advertised to be taken. They were advertised on the order paper of the day. And these were the items. 1, the adoption of the 34th report of the Appointment Committee on His Excellency the President's nomination for appointment as ministers, regional ministers, and deputy ministers. 2, motion on additional financing agreement between Government of Ghana and the IDA for an amount of $150 million to finance the ongoing Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project, also known as the GARID. 3, request for tax exemption for selected beneficiaries under the 1D1F program. On the first item, you all know that Mr. President did some reshuffle and came out with some nominations. As you are well aware, the appointment committee sat on all of the nominees, interviewed them, engaged them, asked the relevant questions, and the report, as was tabled on the floor, was by consensus. So all we left to do is to take it through the motion of voting. On the issue of the GARID, that is the IDA 150 million, the committee had done its work. In fact, we had taken the motion, and the Works and Housing Subcommittee, Committee of Parliament, had expressed certain views. And Mr. Speaker advised that the matter be taken back to committee and the leadership of the Works and Housing Committee be asked to join to express their views so that such views get incorporated. In fact, this was done, and all that is left is for this item to be taken so that government can access this concessional facility to show up our forex. We all know the situation with our city, and these are things that if we are unable to speedily deal with, would affect our economy.
Hey, I'm sure I'm here together with Sweetie Abochi, and we're about to get into that crucial issue of Parliament being reconvened. There are so many issues to unpack from there. Sweetie, we can talk about whether the Speaker would have been in contempt, whether he would have been gearing up for an impeachment if he hadn't recalled Parliament. But there are so many other issues to unpack in there. Government business, what business is that? And what can we expect now that Parliament is going to be back in session? Well, We're joined by our guests on this beat. We have Habib Idrisu. He is Deputy Majority Chief Whip for the NPP side, that is the majority. And then we also have the Minority Chief Whip, Kwame Governs Agboja. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Is that? Okay, so I've heard both of you now. Right. Let's start off from how you feel about the Honourable Speaker, the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagman, recalling Parliament. Some say that if he hadn't, he would have been in breach of the standing orders, which could have led to his impeachment. I will start with you, Habib Idrisu. Satisfied now?
Yes. I don't think that we've gotten to the stage that we were actually going to look or discuss something that has to do with the impeachment of the Speaker. The majority side, we were exercising our right under the Constitution in Article 112, Clause 2 of the Constitution, where about 15% of them can actually petition for the reconvening of Parliament. We did that. The Speaker office was duly served, and then he has responded and said we should reconvene on Friday. We think that we have serious government businesses that worth considering, and for that matter, Parliament need to be reconvened. So I don't think it was an idea of saying that if the Speaker doesn't reconvene Parliament.
But that's not the focus. It just came in. Some of your members had spoken about that. It was just about Parliament being reconvened, and I asked you whether you were happy, and obviously you are. But let me quickly, just hold your horses. Let me bring in Governs Agboja as well on this matter. Has your hand been forced in this matter in terms of reconstituting Parliament?
Good morning to you, and good morning to my good friend, Deputy Majority Whip, Honorable Habib. Let's put this in context. We have a situation currently where the colleagues on the majority side feel strongly about a recall based on items they feel are important to their party government, and they've written to Mr. Speaker. I am reliably aware that as of the time they were making all the comments at press conferences and on social media, the radio, Mr. Speaker was critically not taking account.
Mr. Agboja, we are beginning to lose you slightly. I would like you to reposition so that we don't miss anything you're saying.
Can you hear me?
Better now. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying that the time I making all comments about recall of impeachment thing, about being Speaker.
Mr. Agboja, there seems to be some problem. I don't know whether it's where you are positioned. You have to move from where you are a bit so that we can...
I am actually in transit.
I would really appreciate it if just for about 10, 15 minutes you could just park somewhere for us. Because once you keep moving, we'll face this problem.
Okay, all right. Let me see if it will be better this way.
Okay.
Is it okay now?
It's better. Please go ahead.
Okay, all right, okay. As of the time our colleagues were making all the comments about possible recall, impeachment of Mr. Speaker and everything, Mr. Speaker was physically out of the jurisdiction. Right. But we are now aware that Mr. Speaker has officially recalled Parliament. So we're under Order 53, 1 and 2. So
right.
we will make our way to Parliament. But let's put this in context. We know we are doing limited registration, and you all know the deliberate action of the Electoral Commission in connivance with NPP to make the registration extremely difficult for ordinary people, i.e., everybody must move to a central location to register. But obviously, it is not the same for the NPP. They are able to be happy with whatever the EC is doing. So under a very strenuous, a very difficult situation, our colleagues will also respond to Mr. Speaker's call and come to Parliament on Friday.
So you will be in Parliament on Friday.
Mr. Speaker has recalled us. There's no reason why we will not be there. We will be there.
But do you see the urgency for which this recall has been, put in play? Do you think that all these issues are indeed an issue of emergency, for which reason Parliament has been recalled?
Well, let's put this in context as well. I heard my good friend, the majority leader, enumerate some of the reasons they are doing the recall. He makes the first one as a confirmation or approval of our colleagues who were vetted for various ministerial positions. Yes, indeed, they've been vetted under normal circumstances. The decision is left with the plenary to take. But let me ask a question. Which of the approved the downward? Which of the ministers are holding back as a result of which they are having?
Mr. Agboja, we're still struggling to hear you.
Can you hear me?
I don't know what the problem is because it's making the conversation very difficult.
I've actually stopped. Can you hear me?
Okay, let's try again. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I've actually stopped, so I'm not sure why you can hear me.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm saying that which of these ministers, when approved, would stop the doomsday we are having? Which of these ministers, when approved, would make the city stabilize? So yes, I agree that our colleagues have been vetted. Plenary need to take a decision on them. So when we go, hopefully, we'll have the opportunity to take a decision.
But you do not think it is of major significance, like they are making it sound, right? Because like you're saying, which of these will end doomsday, or which of these will end the depreciation of our currency? So in other words, you're saying it's much ado about nothing, right?
Of course. If they were approved, it wouldn't have changed anything. Now that they have not been approved yet, it is not changing anything. But I'm not saying that they shouldn't be approved. Far from that. So what I'm saying is that making it look as if once these ministers are approved, doomsday will stop or the city will stop depreciating. It's not neither here nor there. When it comes to the loan, let me put this out there. The 150 million Garrett loan was brought to Parliament. We noticed that it is the second part of a loan that has already been approved. $200 million has already been approved. My brothers and sisters, the $200 million when approved, we cannot find any evidence of that money being used for anything. They said they needed to dredge Odot River and many projects. As we speak, no committee of Parliament, either Finance Committee, Works and Housing Committee, can say categorically that they have gone to anywhere in this country and have inspected what even $1 has been spent on out of the $200 million. So when they brought additional funding of $150 million, we raised the issue of at least giving us an update on what the $200 million was spent on, upon which we need additional funding. The majority side was unable to provide any information on how the money was spent. And I am saying that even the World Bank in Ghana probably need to take note of this, that when you give a loan and the people of Ghana cannot find what the money has been spent on, I think they should do an introspection themselves. Okay. So I heard the majority leader saying that the committee has subsequently done everything and the report is ready. No. As we speak, no committee of Parliament has visited any site. There's no new report that actually satisfies anybody. If they've done that during the holiday, then we are yet to see that.
All right, Mr. Agboja.
Hello?
Yes. I think
nobody's trying to force government's hand not to access financing. But when you have taken $200 million and you can't even prove how $1 was spent, and you want another $150 million, is the Ghanaian public expecting the minority side to just go and approve another $150 million when $200 million taken in their name?
Right. Mr. Agboja, I think your point is made on that. Let me bring in Habib. So you look at some of the issues for which reason you want this recall of Parliament. What are the most crucial ones for you? We know about loan agreements, approval of loans. There's the bit about ministers, tax waivers, among others. But which are the most crucial ones that you feel should be tabled at the very start? Or should it be the ministerial appointments? Habib?
If you look at the whole thing, I think all of the above is equally important for the reasons why we are recalling Parliament. But it must be on record when the minority with my good friend Kwame Abuja was of the view that the initially $200 million IDA loan contracted for the purposes of work was actually nothing was done. On that day, the motion was moved. It was seconded. It was for the constitution of the House. Then the leadership of the Works and Housing Committee said the Finance Committee did not involve them in the work, and they feel strongly that they should have been involved. So the Speaker also agreed with them and said that the Finance Committee should be able to meet them. I am very much aware that the Minister for Works and Housing, Otumfuo Nkrumah, the Finance Committee, they had gone to visit the site and see whatever the 200 million was used for. So when we recall, we definitely look into the details of the whole thing. But I don't understand when Kwame just said that there's nothing like agency. Health is of crucial importance.
There's nothing like what? Agency? Okay.
Like he said. For example, the approval of the ministers is very important to us. For example, if you go to the Minister of Health, the minister and all the two deputy ministers are all new. They are all part of those considering to be approved. So you have a full ministry, very sensitive, like the Minister of Health, no minister, no deputy minister, because we have Parliament have not been able to approve it yet. You go to the Minister of Gender, Children Protection, the minister and the deputy ministers are all new. Nobody has been approved yet. So how do you expect us to be able to give quality health care who's supposed to have the supervisory issues to do? And then the third issue has to do with the waivers. We are talking about businessmen or companies trying to exit Ghana because initially under the 1C1F, they were supposed to be given some exemptions. And when they are leaving, it means that it is going to affect our currency.
Are you saying these businesses, I think that is a rather interesting comment to make. Are you saying the businesses are leaving because they are not getting tax waivers? That couldn't be any farther from the truth, because we know what they have stated, why they are leaving the country.
Continent. We are living in a competitive continent where if I am not being offered a concession with regards to tax waivers and Togo is given, if I am a businessman, why wouldn't I leave to Togo if I can get that exemption? If Burkina Faso and other Morocco and other countries have been able to give that, and I was assured under this policy will be able to give those things, and we have not been able to consider it. But the most important thing that we should be able to understand is that the business of the House and government business normally comes from the majority. The minority will not, and will not allow them to dictate to us the business of the House. Yes, it's rather unfortunate the way Parliament was adjourned Senate because we were to consider the ministers and all this that we have discussed. There won't be a need for a recall. But when the Speaker came after delivering his speech, he adjourned the House Senate, which has never happened in the history of this Parliament. Leadership were supposed to give a closing remarks, and members were supposed to consider other business. We were not yielded at whether we still have some government business to consider or not, but the House was moved to do. But I am saying that it is very important that if we want the president and the country to move on, we have all our ministers in place, especially like I have mentioned, help. But Kwame must know that there is no Dumso in Ghana. When
Mr.
there was
Idrisu,
Dumso
please hold
during
me.
the NDC
Your
time,
point,
we were all
your
aware that
made.
there was Dumso.
I don't know where you say there's no Dumso in Ghana, but...
Kwame Abuja, you've heard your colleague on the issues that he sees as crucial for which reason Parliament has been recalled. And you're saying it's much ado about nothing. So give me a sense of your mindset entering Parliament on Friday. What is your intention for going to Parliament on Friday?
Yes, like initially, with regards to the ministers...
This is Mr. Agboja, please.
Habib, this question is for Mr. Agboja.
Okay. Mr. Speaker has recalled Parliament, so we'll be there. But let it be known. My brother knows very well that NDC, as a party in Parliament, is not opposed to tax waivers. What we are asking for is equity and accountability. Let me give you an example. On the same day that the government is looking for a loan of $150 million to do a project that we say that $200 million already deferred cannot do because we haven't got any evidence. And nobody from my side actually attended any site and can confirm that any work has been done. Two, the tax waivers are such that we are looking for $450 million tax waivers. At the same time, you are looking to borrow another $150 million. What is the mindset of government? You are borrowing $150 million and you are giving away $400 million. And then they need to wait was elected after the start of
Mr. Agboja, we are beginning to lose you again.
But I mean, before you even continue, help me put this in context. We've had the issues. Idrisu has also elaborated on why he's saying these are crucial. And you're saying the Speaker has called Parliament and so you will be there. But I'm sure there's been some conversations among you minority. What is the mindset? How are you going into Parliament? Are you going there to actually, ensure that the country moves on, like Idrisu is saying, and approve these ministers? What's the mindset? What is the agenda for going to Parliament on Friday from the minority side?
Okay, I don't think the people of Ghana expect NDC to just walk in there and approve another $150 million when we are saying that $200 million previously approved cannot be accounted for. That is the point. They want to swear in our colleagues who have been elected at Idrisu. There's no problem about that. But my brothers and sisters, are you aware that the NPP connived with the Electoral Commission and denied the people of South representation up till today?
You cannot prove that. You cannot prove that, Mr. Agboja. You cannot prove that. If you utter things like the MPP, hold for me. It's a conversation. You cannot. How can you say the MPP connived with the EC2? And you know that currently there's a new dispensation, and those in Sal are going to vote.
Let me tell you. Okay, so let me explain it to you. Let me prove it to you. Under what law did the Electoral Commission 24 hours before the 2020 election decide that the people of Sal will not vote? I repeat, the Electoral Commission connived with the MPP to deny people of South representation.
Mr. Agboja, you cannot prove that. I am sorry. I cannot allow you to make such statements on the show.
It is a proof. So we have our mindset. We have got open-minded position going into the chamber on Friday. We are not certain on anything. In any case, Mr. Speaker's recall did not state what we are supposed to come and do. So it is premature.
Okay, so let me just clarify with you, Mr. Agboja. When exactly is Parliament expected to return from its break substantively? What's the substantive date?
It's supposed to be from next week towards the end of the month. That is what
you can't give me a substantive date?
No, because we are agenting it here. So it is difficult to say that we're supposed to resume on a particular day. That is the whole point of CNDA, which is indefinite.
All right. Are there MPs who are outside the country currently? And what will be the modalities in terms of getting them back?
Well, the majority side is very insensitive to our colleagues. Let me give you an example. Normally, we should be all be aware when we are returning so that we can encourage people to make their way wherever they are to Parliament. But as you realize, this recall the notice came over the weekend. Of course, members from both sides are outside of the country. Some are in their constituencies. So they have to be compelled by one way or the other to come back to the House. And so it is a very, very difficult one for both sides, as a matter of fact.
And what will be the cost involved in all of this? Recalling Parliament and also the cost of, yes, some are outside the jurisdiction, but do we have a ballpark figure we can use in terms of the cost of reconstituting or recalling Parliament?
The cost is actually largely borne by members of Parliament. You can never be reimbursed for what this costs you, just the same way the cost of the registration is borne by the citizens of this country, not the EC. Because if somebody needs to travel from Jacko in their constituency to Wire to go and register, the EC doesn't pay for the cost of that one. So the cost of the recall, the cost of the limited registration is largely borne by the ordinary citizens of this country.
Habib, a quick one. So 2 quick questions. You will need the numbers of the minority on a lot of what will happen in plenary, right? Are you hoping to get these numbers? Because some of them are outside the jurisdiction. I spoke last week to someone who had just returned to the jurisdiction. How do you mean to handle all of this? If you don't have the requisite numbers, some of the very approvals you seek may not happen. How are you going to deal with them? I'll get back to governs later on whether they are expecting their side to show up in numbers. But how are you going to muster those numbers, Habib?
On our part, we are very positive that we have the numbers to be able to take decision on the approval of the ministers. We are very convinced that we have the numbers for the approval of the 150 IDA loan, and we also have the numbers to be able to carry the waivers that we are seeking to. My colleagues.
So you don't care about the numbers on the minority side, whether they show up or not. You don't care.
But if you listen to him, he said that you don't expect them, the NDC or the minority, to walk into the chamber to support a 150 million IDA loan. So what he's simply trying to tell me is that they are going to against it. And as a deputy whip on my side, I have to also ensure that government business go on. So I have to bring my numbers. He bring his numbers, and we'll be able to see who have the numbers to carry the business. But what must be noted is that day we will be 138 because the member of parliament for Ejisu, the one elect, will be sworn in, and the majority will be 138. And then if he says that we are not sensitive to members of parliament, it's rather unfortunate that he will make this statement because we had actually engaged. There was a consensus for us to build for parliament to be recalled. We are not getting it before we were able to trigger this. We give a notice for 7 days to the speaker. The speaker, upon receiver, also gives notice. So that's about 14 days, 2 weeks. And then known that Parliament will be reconvening on Friday.
Okay, so they had enough.
We have the numbers to carry the business of the House.
So they had enough notice. But a quick question: you sound as though you were looking forward to a wholesale approval of ministers. That's how you sound. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But there's also the thorny issue of Professor Kingsley Nyako, who has been nominated or selected as a deputy education minister. With the cloud hanging over his head, are you looking to approve him as well as the majority?
Innocent until proven guilty. Has the member of parliament been approved guilty of any crime, any wrongdoing?
Your party communications director came here, Richard Ahiagba came here and said that he was not in support of the actions of that individual, that he didn't work in the interest of or on the direction of the party. What do you think that conveys?
The most important thing is that he has appeared before the appointment committee. He was asked questions. He was vetted. He proved that he is capable of being the deputy minister for education. He has been approved. The report was consensual. So whatever happened after, it is something that we need to talk about. But at the moment, I haven't seen the member of parliament being found guilty of any wrongdoing. It is just a video circulated. People see. I also saw it, an envelope being given. He has spoken to it, and for that matter, he's not been found guilty of anything. So I don't think that it is something we should use to crucify him for perception and other things that we have to look at. He is capable of becoming a deputy minister.
Sweetie Abochi, it's just a video of an envelope being. It was just a video.
He says innocent until proven guilty. My final bit to you would be that if these issues are as crucial as you say to the nation, and Parliament needs to allow time for accurate debates, rebuttals here and there. Sitting for 1 day, will that time suffice to conclude on all these issues, loans, ministerial appointments, and all these issues that are coming up? Do you think just sitting for a day instead of waiting for Parliament to actually be back? Do you think that time will suffice for you to accurately deal with these issues that you're saying are crucial?
Yes, like I said earlier on, I think we need less than a day, even not a day, to be able to do this. Because for the 150 IDA loan, the motion was moved, the motion was seconded. There's already a report from the Finance Committee. The only thing that was left was for the Finance Committee to engage the Works and Housing Committee leadership, which they are to the best of my knowledge.
I think I agree with Benjamin when he says that you don't sound like you're expecting any opposition at all. If you say that you need less than a day to go through all these issues.
No, but the point is that with regards to the loan agreement, if they oppose to it, it is left with the mode of opposition that they are coming in. Whether the speaker puts a voice vote, and we are going to look at it, whether who carry it, whether there will be a challenge or the voice vote or not. With the issue of the ministerial appointment, there is already a report So the chairman of the committee just need to present the report. And the last report I cited was a consensus report. So it will just be presented for the consideration of the House.
Right.
And with regards to the tax waivers, it is not new. All what we are talking about, none of them is a new thing to the House. It's something we are well aware of. It's something we needed to approve before with the House.
Okay,
was
so
against
I think your point is made. It's not new, so it's going to be easy to dilate on it. Gentlemen, the final bit I want you to look at, just moving away briefly, the limited voter registration exercise has been characterized by quite some skirmishes and all of that. Ahafuano North, among others, Cape Coast, Dujoma, among others. What is your take? Mr. Agboja, you also had Collins Dauda, accosted, apprehended at a point, and on the other side, some others as well. The MPP's Mpoho treasurer also arrested. Why are we at this point? Quick take, because we're about to have a full conversation on this, but since you are in Parliament, I wanted to take your thoughts. I'll start with you, Governor Kwame Agboja.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, let me state once again, the NDC's opposition to the $150 million is based on the principle that the $200 million they took, both the NPP and the NDC side have never been to any side to ascertain how the $200 million was spent. So let that be clear. So, and I never said that we are opposed to it. I said they haven't presented anything to us to make us support that loan. So it's not true that I said we are opposed to it.
All right.
And with regard to the limited registration, the biggest problem was the first 2 days, as you know, and I blame this on the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission knows the challenges they have when we are doing limited registration. And indeed, the last registration, we had similar problems. How the EC is unable to resolve these issues to the extent that when we started this, for 2 days, we couldn't do registration in some towns, only can point to one thing, that they are either very, very incompetent or deliberately massaging the registration process to satisfy a certain political party. With regard to the violence, largely, many places, the registration is going on smoothly, as a matter of fact. I am aware, or I've read on social media, that my colleague, Honorable Dauda, and some NPP side people had some altercation, of which the police invited them and took statements from them and left them. That is all that I know about that. So I don't have much details about extreme violence everywhere. Though I saw another video of somebody in a part of Ashanti region basically destroying the whole registration process, leading to the EC officials running out of their place. And I'm told the PC of NPP was behind that. I also don't have any further information apart from the videos I saw.
All right, Mr. Agboja, we're grateful for your time. Habib, you have the final word on that, and then we're gone.
Yes, just like any other registration exercise, there might be one or two problems elsewhere. We all
Habib, just a quick thought. Let's not trivialize or normalize this and make it appear just like any other. There are other jurisdictions where you will not see anything like this. So I take a little bit of exception to just like any other exercise. So we should expect these things.
I am a student of the electoral process. At least I've been around observing it from 92, and I haven't been able, I can't recall any one registration exercise that we said there was never been a problem, not even one. I'm not justifying that what is going on is beautiful or it is good. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying that, yes, just like any other registration exercise, there have been problems. Like in my constituency, I was there, Tolong constituency. I visited the main EC office. Everything was going on well. I visited the mobile site. That's the hard-to-access area. It was going on well. Yes, like he mentioned, just one or two places to have problems. But the first day, we were all disappointed that the network went off and it was not going well. Yes, Electoral Commission can improve on their services. But what actually is going on now? We have 21 days to do it. I think they are just on day 6 or so. So we hope that they will be able to improve their services so that everybody who is eligible to register can be captured to the national register.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Habib Idrisu. He is Deputy Majority Chief Whip. We also had Governor Kwame Agboja, who is the Majority chief whip. And we brought up that conversation because we're going to segue neatly into the next conversation, focusing on the limited voter registration exercise, some of these skirmishes and everything in between. Seems that even I saw on video and I was thinking, wow.
When the rains are failing, you should have been doing irrigation to mitigate the situation. But then almost all the rivers in the cocoa grain areas are polluted. Cocoa Board Manu went to the African Development Bank to secure some $600 million US. Eventually, you have to return 250 million USD. Part of that money was intended for irrigation. We commissioned the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority to do a pre-appraisal for us, assessment. And the report they brought was that almost all the rivers were contaminated. And you cannot use that murky, muddy water to do anything with cocoa. You cannot use it for spraying. And these days, farmers have to, transport water from the house in Aboboya to the farms, making farming even very expensive. Previously, the farmer gets to the nearest stream around the farm, and then he fetches the water to do the mass spraying and all that. But now, you dare not, because the leaves have process, which we call the stomata. And once you spray this muddy water onto it, the mud is going to block, this stomata. And within a short time, you find all the leaves coming down. The trees will die. You cannot also use it for irrigation, because it means that you have to be changing your filters almost every day. You have to be changing. It will be so expensive. And you can also use boreholes because they are not reliable. Elsewhere, anywhere we've gone, Ecuador, Peru, even Brazil, which is now about to rejuvenate its cocoa destination, they are depending on running water, surface running water, that's rivers, to do irrigation. Why can't we do same here? All because of galamsey. Galamsey is not only affecting the water that the cocoa farms will need, it's also affecting even the microclimate, the ecosystem of the place. Because, cocoa doesn't like too much water, as I've indicated. So it's best on well-drained land. And therefore, the adjoining swamps, as cultivate cocoa. And the swamps are a reservoir. They are themselves a reservoir of water. Nature's own wisdom has created them as huge reservoirs that contain water. And during the dry season, evaporation from these swamps actually impact on the cocoa. Well, in the morning, when you're going to the cocoa farm, you have a lot of, dew falling on the cocoa. And the stomata absorb, and then you see the cocoa trees always evergreen, flourishing. They don't just shed their leaves, unlike maybe in the temperate areas whereby during the winter you go there, all trees are shed. No, you don't see these things on cocoa farms. But what is happening is that the first target of illegal miners will be the swamp. That's where
the swamp around the cocoa.
The swamp around the cocoa, adjoining the cocoa farm. So that's where they go and mine. And once they excavate, they create a pit, a deep pit there. One, the ecosystem have been disrupted, completely destroyed. So that macro climate is no more. Number two, the moisture, the water under the cocoa trees, will then drain. Because once you create a pit, there's a dip. So water under the cocoa trees, the soil water moisture will drain into the pit. If cocoa is not going to have a future, it's not going to play any role in Ghana's future, that's tomorrow, then it will be illegal mining. Because if it wasn't illegal mining, climate change can be mitigated through irrigation.
And that is the head of the Ghana Cocoa Board there lamenting the situation, Joseph Baidu, about what exactly, how illegal mining is destroying our cocoa. But the question is, how did we get here and where do we go from there? Joining me on this conversation, there's Isaac Ofieje. He's our data analyst here at Joy News. We also have Edward Karawe. He is General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. Both of them join me for a conversation. But gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Before we get into the substantive issue, though, right before we came here, because I also heard you reacting, the limited voter registration exercise and some of the skirmishes, ugly scenes we've seen, Mr. Karawe, in about a minute. What do you have to share about them before we get to the substantive issues?
Well, I think that it's unfortunate that we are experiencing this, but it speaks volumes about the type of governance that we have, the type of leadership that we have, and whether or not our leaders are in control of the economy and the people. You know, one of the fundamental, responsibilities of a leader is to manage both the human resources and the natural resources. We have failed in managing our natural resources. We have also failed in managing our human resources. So how could they not have been able to prevent something like this? Which leader is responsible for the limited voter registration? Which leader is responsible for ensuring that there's peace at the polling station? Why is it that it was not dealt with? So certainly it's a complete failed state system.
Failed state system.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, thank you for those initial thoughts. Let's get right into the nitty-gritty of what exactly has been happening and how we got here. Isaac Ofieje, I know our Cocoa series is also in the offing, but tell us about the facts and figures in respect of what the Cocoa Board CEO has been saying.
Well, so just like you said, we are running a Cocoa series. Today we are starting with the, why the prices are up, but the farmer is not really profiting. And then tomorrow we start talking about the profitability of the Cocoa Board as a body. And I would like to start with this. You remember when the IMF put out the program document, there was something that caught my attention. And I would like to read. It says, Ghana's collateralized debt is entirely held by China. It corresponds to 4 loan agreements signed in 2007 to 2018 that amounted to $619 million to finance infrastructure. These are collateralized against cocoa, bauxite, oil, and electricity sales. So we have some 4 loans that we have collateralized, and these are the resources or the mineral resources and some, crops that we've used as
basically the backbone of our economy. And even more worrying, electricity, power.
Yes, and cocoa is one of them. But we may have had hopes that cocoa will continue to be one of the backbones of our economy. But if you look at the data, it doesn't look like it is the same anymore. While Ivory Coast is currently having around 45% of the world's cocoa production, we have now moved from the 20s now to 13. And gradually, if you look at the projections that are coming out, we could be hitting 10% of the world production, possibly by 2025. Now, I've been looking at the data.
We could be hitting 10%.
10% of the world.
While Ivory Coast is around 40+%.
45, yes.
I followed the data since the 1950s. There was this thing I stumbled upon on LinkedIn and followed the data from the 1950s and how, at a point, Cote d'Ivoire was not the highest producer. Yes. Brazil has been the highest producer at a point. And then the differences, but we've never been so far away from the Ivory Coast. You're telling me that per the projections, by 2025, we could be hitting 10%.
Well, if you could show the gap analysis that we've done on the screen, maybe our viewers will appreciate what we are talking about. The fact that Ivory Coast is now producing 2.3 million, and now about 1.8 because of what we are all experiencing, metric tons. We are doing 580,000, metric tons. And even that one, we are not so sure that we'll hit this target. So day in and day out, the gap between us and the Ivory Coast keeps widening, and Ecuador keeps catching up.
That is the point. I remember in one of my blunt thoughts, I shared it. The South American countries, there was this, I think, swollen shoe disease many decades ago that made a lot of them
then they had the
but now they are ramping it up again. And Ecuador especially is catching up big time. And we are sitting on our rear. We are sitting on our buttocks, as these countries catch up. And with galamsey and everything we're doing, it's only a matter of time. But walk us through the rest of the data.
Well, so just like you said, currently it's Ivory Coast that's sitting on top as number 1 with about 2 million metric tons a year. And then Ghana is number 2. We are looking around, the projection was 680,000 metric tons, but now we are doing way less than that. There's Ecuador who is not catching up. Now that the El Nino is over, they are hoping to surpass their 365,000 metric tons, and followed by Cameroon. There's also Nigeria, which is also catching up. And there's Brazil, all in the mix. But today we want to focus on why the cocoa prices, we know that at a point hit more than $10,000, dollars.
Just about $10,000.
Yes. So why is it that the farmer is not really benefiting? This is the first time per the data that we've analyzed that the farmer has enjoyed 2, increments in farm gate prices. The first one was, I think, 68%, 64%, and we had another 50% increment. So they've enjoyed more than 100% increment in one season. But the reason why they are not really getting what they are supposed to get is because we do what we call the forward sales.
Right.
So before the cocoa beans even arrive, we sell them, in advance and get the money. And that's why the cocoa board has become the backbone of the economy, because the money we get, or the cocoa syndicated loans we get in advance, that is what usually we use to shore up the city. In 2022, when the economy was facing a lot of crisis and we couldn't get monies from the international capital market, it was cocoa board and other loans, the 750 million loan that we got, that saved the economy to some extent. But now, you heard the cocoa board CEO there, that some of the monies they took that they could have used to support the economy, they had to return it because they can't use it for the purpose that they went for that money. If they keep it, they are going to pay high interest on it, and cocoa board will keep racking up debt. And under the IMF program, they've been restrained from doing certain things like that. But before the farmer even got that 46% rise in farm gate price, we were pegging the cocoa price as the forest sales were doing 1,000, I think more than a little close to $1,900 per ton. Then we sell the cocoa with this price, giving the farmer a portion of that money. Then we saw that the prices have now risen to 10,000. We do not have control over it because we've sold that cocoa in advance.
You've already sold it.
The best we can do is to supervise for them not to hoard.
Right.
Now, we have the cocoa beans.
So are you saying that even when the prices increase, because the prices have taken a tumble now.
Yes.
They've taken a tumble, sharp tumble. But when the price increased because of our syndicated loan, where you are not selling the cocoa in real time, but you are getting the money in advance, we did not benefit.
We did not benefit.
Right.
It is countries like, maybe I'll say companies in the Netherlands. They have been able to carve a niche for themselves. They become the middleman in Europe.
Right.
Where both Ghana and Ivory Coast all sell more than 20% of their cocoa beans to the Netherlands.
Right.
And they will become the middleman and now, redistribute to other parts in Europe. Formerly, it didn't used to be like that. We used to sell directly to the UK, to other countries. But right now, we sell almost everything to the Netherlands, and they become the middleman. And so when they have the cocoa and the price go up, they benefit, and we, the ones that we have the...
So in other words, they get the bumper harvest, so to speak, of money.
Absolutely. And the reason why it doesn't look good for the farmers going into the next season that we are all preparing is that we're hoping that the price will still stay around, let's say, $9,000 or $10,000 per ton.
And that way, for the next window, but then
yes,
they would actually.
Then it means that if you have that benchmark, then cocoa farmers can now enjoy a bigger portion when it comes to farm gate price. But the international traders are beginning to realize that if they allow cocoa to be benchmarked around 9,000 or 10,000, they will be on the losing side.
Right.
So they've decided to hold on with their purchases, which means that any funding they were doing last season or last 2 seasons, they are holding on to that, hoping that when the demand comes down and supply is still high, what happens to price? Price will go down.
So in other words, the international system is still working against us. But let's quickly look at the rest of the data, and then I'll come to Mr. Karewe in the studio. So walk us through the rest of the data.
So if you look at the rest of the data, we are looking at, tomorrow we'll be looking at Cocoa Board's, finance, their financials, and the fact that the last time Cocoa Board actually made profit was 2015. And it's supposed to be the mother body that's actually supervising all of this. And it's true that they are handicapped with some of the things that is going on, like galamsey activities. And the fact that right now, Cocoa Board has been restricted from doing so many things. And I want to run you through this. That there are certain
let's
things
quickly do that.
They've been restricted from doing under the IMF program. So, 1, Cocoa Board can no longer do the fertilizer provision at the scale that they used to do it, because of the IMF program, because they sense that there's some sort of, corrupt activities going on in there. There's rural roads development that usually helps with the transportation of the cocoa beans. They are no longer going to do that. Mass spraying of cocoa farms, Cocoa Board is being restricted. Providing high-yield seedlings to farmers, that's one too, has been restricted. Then the rehabilitation of cocoa roads. All of these things, if you count them, they're about 5, and they are key to our harvest. All of these things, because of the current nature or the fiscal position of Cocoa Board, they've been restricted from doing all of this. So, Ben, these are first findings from the research that we are doing. It is a series, and tomorrow we'll be bringing you the aspects where we talk about Cocoa Boards.
So, Kofi, let's go on the slides one by one. I just want us to quickly address the slides so that we can follow sequentially, and then just situate the conversation before I bring in Mr. Karewe.
All right, so we start with the first slide that you see on your screens. These are some of the factors that are affecting Ghana's cocoa, yields. The reason why we've moved from millions to now 1,000 metric tons. The first one we've been talking about it is smuggling. Then we also have the swollen shoot disease that's not only affecting Ghana, but Ivory Coast and other countries as well. And there's one peculiar problem that possibly maybe is only Ghana's problem, which is galamsey activity. I'm sure that Mr. Kari will talk about it a lot because it is really affecting us. And SBM Intelligence did an analysis or a study on this. And you could see that farmers are now beginning to sell their lands to miners. And they take as low as, let's say, 50,000 Ghana cedis and sell, let's say, 4 or 5 acres of land to galamseyers. And then they take that money because they feel that, they are better off taking the money now than a cocoa industry that maybe they feel is not profitable anymore. There is also one finding from the SBM Intelligence research that the inheritance system is no longer also helping the cocoa industry, where a father who is a farmer now passes his cocoa farm to a son who doesn't feel that he wants to be a farmer. What does he do? He either sells the cocoa farm to miners or decide to convert it to another thing. And there's also the climate issue where, it has affected yields as well. And then there's the overaged cocoa trees that Cocoa Board has already spoken about. Then we talk about the yields, where we've moved from over 1 million now to 580,000. This is even a projection. And there are estimates that shows that we could even go below 500,000 metric tons by the end of this, season. Then we also have our share in terms of the fact that maybe somewhere around 2020, 2021, we're holding about 20% of the world production of cocoa. Now we are talking about just 13%. And current research by SBM Intelligence and others show that we may be hitting 10%, possibly by 2025, if you look at all of these factors that we've spoken about in the first slide. Then you see the gap analysis that we were talking about, if you can put that one on your screens, where there's that widening gap between Ghana in red and Ivory Coast in green. Even when Ivory Coast is falling, they are falling from 2.3 million metric tons to 1.8. But we are falling from 556,000 to now 580,000. And even when we are falling...
You just said 4, but you're mentioning 550 to 580. we hit 1 million, and there's been a steady decline, 683, 654, and then now 580.
And even this figure,
and this is a conservative figure.
Yeah, and possibly may even go below 500,000. And Ivory Coast is still within the 1 million, the million zone. But we have moved from that. The last time we hit that was 2020, 2021 season. Then just look at this. In terms of the share, who holds the biggest...
So maybe that'll be the final bit before I get to you. Yeah.
And that one also shows a widening gap between us and the Ivory Coast. You can see a uniform distribution. They've been consistent, and then the figure has been, constant.
In the mid-40s throughout.
Absolutely, for Ivory Coast. But on the other hand, in Ghana, we've been moving between 20 and now we are doing just close to 13%. So that's actually the sad story of the cocoa industry in Ghana, Ben. And
well, stay for our cocoa series as well, as we will be bringing you that starting from today. But let me bring in Edward Carraway. And I do realize that we've taken a lot of time to just situate the conversation, but what does all of this mean in basic terms to the Ghanaian cocoa farmer? I want us to start from cocoa and then devolve into other areas of farming activity.
Well, Benjamin, the point is this. It's just like every farmer. Why do you produce? Two things. You produce for consumption or to make money out of it. When you look at cocoa...
Or for both.
Or for both. If you look at cocoa production, the entire country, we know that we don't consume cocoa. We hardly consume cocoa, the products. Why we produce cocoa is to export.
Now, the Cocoa Board boss was extolling even you will not fall sick and all of that, but we don't consume a lot of it here ourselves.
We started to produce for export. Now we think that we can process some of it. And you can see that rate is not impressive. It's not impressive. So to the farmer, all these things happening means that their basic livelihood is taken away forever. And once your basic livelihood is taken away forever, then you must find means to do other things. Either you migrate, those who are old enough and cannot migrate, they stay and die poor. Their children will migrate to the cities or engage in galamsey. That is just the effect of it. Because it's no more lucrative to be in cocoa production. And there are many factors which are real. Even the cocoa farmers who are patriotic and insist that they will not, sell their farms and they will stay with their farms, are forced to sell them out. They will flood your farms with all the dirty water. You cannot even enter the farm again. They could come there by force and take it. So you see, it's so pathetic and it's heartbreaking that we can sit down, allow such a monumental criminal act to continue. Not for today, there are some crimes when they are committed, the effect will be for today. But this one is against generations to come.
I dare say this is genocide against the future generation.
In fact,
genocide against the future generation. What we are doing to our land with galamsey and the rest, it is genocide against the future generation, Ghana's posterity, and our politicians are at the forefront.
So it's so serious, and cocoa is only one because it's the mainstay of the economy. We are seeing it. Today, we have to take a decision. We just have to take a decision today as to whether or not we want to still produce cocoa into the future. The signs are clear that we cannot go on for the next 2 years, in my view, the next 2 years, the rate at which cocoa production is being destroyed, the facilities, when you talk about the facilities here, cocoa is not grown everywhere in the country because of atmospheric humidity.
So you'd look at the Ahafo, those regions, Ashanti, Ahafo. You'd look at some parts of the Volta region and a few places extending towards the north, and that's it.
So you see that the cocoa tree is grown in the midst of other plantations. Okay, it needs plantation cover. It needs marshy or a certain humidity, and you can get that from the rivers. The river basins are all drying up. The forest is taken away. So you see that there will be so much heating in the area. And once there's so much heating, then the atmosphere will not be conducive again for cocoa production, even if there is no any other intervening factors like the solemn shoot disease and so on.
And all that.
No, you will still have low production. And because, you see, we can't continue to produce cocoa in the traditional way that we do. And that is why the Cocoa Board intended to irrigate cocoa. Because we're then scaling up from the traditional method where the rains, when there are no rains, then you suffer the full rigor of the lack of rain, to a point where you can mitigate the effect by irrigating it. Now, it is clear that irrigation cannot take place in those areas because we have killed all the rivers. You see, the thing that sometimes for some of us is so wicked, not to ourselves and to our generation. We as human beings, our species, if we don't want ourselves, we should know that the environment, the other living organisms are all dying. Yeah. And let me ask this question. When we move to those galamsey areas, we'll go there with our bottled water, okay? Because the river, the water is no good, we'll drink. What about the other living organisms that go to the rivers to drink? The snakes, the insects. Because if we drink that river water, we will die. So they too will die. So we are killing all of them because they have no other source of livelihood apart from depending on the environment and then the rivers. And this is what we have done to ourselves. I think that the word genocide, we need a bigger word for that.
A bigger word?
Yes.
Beyond genocide?
Yeah. And it is the leaders today. Look, I'm saying that it is a deliberate policy. Policies can be those that you craft and those that you imply. If you see injustice happening and you put your face aside, then you are condoning that injustice. It is your policy to allow that injustice to go on. If we think that we don't want to stop galamsey, but that we don't have a policy that directly says that please go and do galamsey mining, but you see galamsey going on and destroying the rivers and killing children who are yet to be born, and you keep quiet, then that is another policy.
So even as we contemplate the dwindling fortunes of Ghana in cocoa production, and it is so steep, it's been very steep. I'm not even looking at the 20 to 13%. It's been very steep over time. What role do you see political leadership playing? Because time and again, we hear of the very people who are supposed to be protecting our natural resources themselves being pointed to as being complicit in this. How do we, because the very people who are supposed to enforce are the very people who every now and then are behind these activities?
You see, it's very difficult to catch the thief when it is the watchman, if it is the watchman who is stealing. Because he's the same person. We have entrusted the resources of this country into the hands of our leaders that have been invested with authority and power, that you and I do not have, to ensure that crime is not perpetuated. And it is those people, they use those powers and perpetuate the crime. You and I have not got the power to hold them on. We don't have. So the point is just about our leaders and nobody else. Look, let's just look at this simple scenario. Our governance system is so good that if we let it work, everybody will benefit. If you go to every region, there's a regional minister. All the government institutions, they have regional officers. You talk about the police, you talk about the BNI, you talk about all the security, they all have. Go to the district level, they all have those commanders. The president is represented in every district with an MC or whatever. All the other institutions are there. Do you want to tell me that they don't know what is happening? If they want to resolve it within 1 month, 2 months, it will be done. You see, it's just that.
So there's a lack of political will.
I won't say lack of political will. I will even say that it is political complacency. They are complicit in the act. It is not.
Oh, you mean political complicity? They are complicit in the act.
Complicity. Yes.
They are involved in it.
They are involved in it. It is not only about the lack of the will. No, the lack of the will is you fail to act. But this one, it is not so. Because you see, I just sometimes get so much worried about you journalists, the type of work you do. You risk your lives, you risk your families, you risk your future to go and get, information for the leaders to act, and they say they will not act. I sit here, I talk. I don't go and get that type of data. I don't risk my life as much as you do. So if journalists...
Like Erastus has been doing. And sometimes it gets really tiring coming to sit here and say it because, you've said it time and again.
So in that case, it is not about lack of political will. It is just about what? We are complicit and...
Okay. Now, speaking of that complicity, you heard the CEO of the Ghana Cocoa Board and what he had to say about... it's clear. 13% Isaac Ofie. Now you're saying per that outfit's predictions, it could be 10% in 2025. It could very well mean that by 2030, if something monumental is not done, Ghana could actually be off the map in terms of being a cocoa producing country. And do you know what that would mean? Some of us grew up throughout our childhood. What are some of the things Ghana is known for? Cocoa and all of that. I've traveled to places. It's a pride picking up cocoa and knowing that, 40% from Ghana, premium cocoa from here. A time could come when, thanks to misleadership, you will not find that again. Can you imagine that? So how do you react to the Ghana Cocoa Board CEO and what he's saying?
Well, I was on that program with him. We shared a number of...
Indeed, you were there together with the other lady.
With him.
But do you agree with what he's saying? And is enough being done?
Even for some of us, we saw it coming years back. We saw it coming. Because, you see, Ghana was once upon a time not a producer of cocoa.
Indeed.
Cocoa was brought into this country. We started producing it. We scaled up to be the number one. Mm-hmm. Côte d'Ivoire came and overtook us. We had since been declining. And when we hear that China is also growing cocoa, then we say that, it will not happen. When we hear another country growing cocoa, we think that we can still always be there. It's just like a right. When you acquire a right, you must protect that right. What we are doing is that we have decided, apart from even galamsey, tell us, let's ask, how do we still go on producing cocoa in this country? Look, if you have 1,000 cocoa pots, you have to sit down and count all of them. Open them with a cutlass. Yeah. Cut them. Open everything. You can't continue with that type of production, method into the future. You should be able to carry them, put them into a machine.
They must be mechanized.
It will mechanize. It will open, take all that, and give you. This is what we are still doing. So you see that we are even bound to lose our position. We are bound to lose.
In fact, we've been in that position for far too long, even without thinking, because every country is mechanizing. You're still using the same old rustic, old, basic methods, and you think...
And again, why would Cocoa Board, a huge institution over 70 years of existence, we have designed the system in such a way that every year they have to go for a loan to be able to operate. Yeah. It can't be. It can't be. Cocoa Board should have been the institution that will set up other institutions.
The last time they made profit was 2015.
And since then, of course, one will say that because they have a public role to play, a public duty role to play, it's not actually meant...
It's not so much for profit, but the point too is that they can. If they've not made profit for 9 years now, it's a problem.
It's a problem. And because if they do not get the syndicated loan, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
And we've seen how those who have been given the syndicated loan make sure that they squeeze Ghana to a point where you accept conditions that are not good. They will come.
Your hands are tied.
They will come and give you the loan at the time that even the purchasing season is halfway or almost coming to an end. And when the farmers, you don't have the money to go and buy the cocoa from the farmers, they will get frustrated. Then they will begin to smuggle it out.
Is it possible to get out of that cycle, that vicious cycle we've had? And these questions you're posing, these things you're saying, I've said over time. It makes no sense.
It can happen.
For how many decades you've had a syndicated, you rely on this. So if some year there are global shocks and you don't get that money, what happens to your cocoa production?
And you see, what it used to be is that it isn't that we started with going to the syndicated to collect syndicated loan. It used to be Bank of Ghana financing cocoa purchases here. Now, with this model, where we now go for syndicated loan, all the benefits that go with loan goes to the foreign banks. But all the benefits that go with loan would have actually stayed with us if it is Bank of Ghana that finances it. And Bank of Ghana should be able to do that because this is purely business.
The Bank of Ghana is busy facilitating other business that has nothing to do with something like this.
So it can be done. So my view is that Bank of Ghana should start to finance what? Cocoa.
And that Bank of Ghana bid, in this week, I'll have time for the Bank of Ghana on certain points. But Isaac, so you wanted to say something on that?
Well, I was just saying that, I mean, going for the cocoa syndicated loan, to me, is not a bad idea because the reason why we programmed Cocoa Board in such a way to be able to attract such huge loan was that we know that as a country, at every point in time, we suffer forex losses and our CD goes into a certain form of, depreciation. And so when you have Cocoa Board attracting, formerly they used to attract $1 billion. So just imagine one institution, a state-owned enterprise like Cocoa Board, bringing in $1 billion for us to be able to show up our CD. It wasn't a bad idea, but if you have Cocoa Board bringing in that $1 billion and you also don't have other systems to manage that $1 billion, what we see is that Cocoa Board doesn't just borrow from cocoa syndicated loan. They also do cocoa bills. Now, all those who bought the cocoa bills, remember, a year ago, were asked to come for a haircut. Remember the story of, I think, his name just escaped, but he bought cocoa bills, and since, I think, in 9 months or 8 months, has not been able to get his what he's due, his coupon payment, and all of those things. And Cocoa Board had to restructure their debt. So it's way beyond just getting the money, but how to manage that money, for instance, is the problem. And I'm looking at how cocoa used to bring in forex in terms of the first 2 months of every year. Just last year, January and February, we were able to get $711.5 million from cocoa export. Guess what, Ben? 2024, the first 2 years, we've lost over $200 million. Now we are doing somewhere $508 million.
My point, though, is this. While the figures may look attractive, because, of course, again, we do not manage our currency well. The economy is always wobbling, so it is always in our interest to get as many dollars, greenbacks, as we can get into the system. But if we managed it internally, had the central bank, get this, the booms that come with it, it is boom and bust on the international front.
Everything stays here.
If we were able to harness that and make this homegrown, we avert the shocks of this syndicated loan from different fronts, and then we can make even more of that profit than what we are being given.
Bank of Ghana is the reason why cocoa companies or maybe confectionery companies in Ghana are not surviving is because, let's say you are a cocoa company in Ghana and you are buying beans, you need to buy at the prevailing market rate, which is in dollars. Let's assume you're a company, budget $1 to 10 cedis from the beginning of the year, now it's 14 cedis. Your capital has been eroded by a certain significant point.
By 40%.
Absolutely. So now, even Bank of Ghana, it's just like the gold for oil deal. When Bank of Ghana is buying the gold, they are buying at prevailing dollar rates. We should ask ourselves, Bank of Ghana as it stands now, do they have what it takes, the dollars to buy cocoa from cocoa?
But we all know that as it stands now, based on their own caps and freezes and everything, and especially on the about 60 billion Ghana cedi loss, they are nowhere near being able to do something. So but then again, it is the same politicians who led us to where we are. But let me come back to you, Edward Kariwe. I want us to move on to other crops, but quickly. What would it take to bring a rescue mission for our cocoa? In about a minute, I want you to address that. Then we'll move to other crops.
A rescue mission.
I am not happy about the way, because if someone like you can't map out from where we are now, you can't see a clear way to a rescue mission, then it means we're in trouble. Yeah. We're in big trouble.
We are in big trouble. There's no immediate rescue mission. The immediate rescue mission is to ensure that, one, we stop out galamsey immediately. Yeah. We are able to stop smuggling, because these are illegal activities and they are forbidden by our laws, and we must do that. Unfortunately, are we ready to do that? We are not ready. So it's difficult to say that you can isolate cocoa alone, because you see, because cocoa is also situated within the agricultural sector, the entire environment, our agricultural policy would also impact heavily on cocoa. Even though cocoa, out of the gamut of different agricultural activities, cocoa stands out, it is also still situated within the agricultural sector. And you see, the point about we need to go back gradually to reclaim our status and be able to finance cocoa. You see, the syndicated loan thing, that is the reason why we have to do the forward selling. Sales, yeah. The forward sales. If you want the loan, then they will say, okay, sell so much to us so that we can be sure of. Otherwise, we'll not give you that loan. So they make sure that they squeeze you, and then you sell at a price that you will not have sold.
It will never be in your interest.
It will never be in your interest. And Ben, in fact, we are supposed to start deliberations and then also bringing together different banks to form a syndicate for the next season's loans.
Yes.
But we are not sure the beans will get the following season. And so we are not able to do that currently.
And because they are the farmer, where we said, some of us, we know that they play a lot of economic politics when it comes to determining the syndicated loan.
And it's because we have given them, we have put our fingers in their mouths, and they will bite you. Yeah.
The banks will withdraw at last minute in participating in the syndicated loan.
That's what happened to us this planting season. We're looking for 1 billion. We ended up getting 800. The remaining 200 million.
And that was even good.
Delayed.
It could have been worse.
Even delayed, and we had some of the farmers selling to other people.
It could have been worse. Well, it is clear that we're in a bad place, a very bad place when it comes to cocoa. And I am personally very disappointed about how things have turned out. But let's quickly look. It's a spiral effect. It's not just cocoa. Because if the land is getting destroyed, the chemicals that, there are some metals, for example, that are kept at certain layers of our earth, not meant to come to a certain level. When they do, plants wilt, they wither, they die. Unfortunately, on the back of galamsey and other illegal activities, this is what is happening. How about other crops?
Well, the danger you see with cocoa is even worse with other crops.
Like?
Because cocoa is a perennial crop. So its resistance is higher than that of those crops that are not perennial.
Like which ones?
If you talk about maize, if you talk about cassava, if you talk about plantain, they grow and then you cut them, then they come up. They are not as resistant as that of the cocoa.
And I guess the tubers are the roots and tubers are worse off because they are embedded in there. They absorb everything.
Yes. So now what we are doing is that any agricultural activity around that area is destroyed.
In those galamsey-prone areas?
Galamsey-prone areas. You talk about pawpaw, you talk about vegetables. What water are you going to use to water the vegetables? What water is going to be used for the other, the maize? When the maize falls on the soil, and you pick it up, what has happened to it? If it is rice, all the water, rice likes water.
Yeah.
They are in the valleys. Which water? How clean is that water? So by the time that rice will come out, then that rice is poisoned. And you see, the other thing is that, as we advance in technology, we are able to discover things that we were either not able to. The sanitary, phytosanitary measures that are put by before exporting to the European countries continuously change. And because a time will come, if we are not able to stop the galamsey, Ghana's cocoa, however little that we even export, we produce,
will not be able to sell anyway.
We cannot export it because they can have alternative, like the Ecuador, Brazil,
even Nigeria, next door Nigeria,
Cameroon, which are Cote d'Ivoire. You know, because they are coming up, so it will get to a point. You say, look, please, your cocoa is infested with heavy metals, is poisoned. We cannot take it. So it's not about what you come to have at that time. That is the risk. Apart from that, all of you see, I listen once in a while because I cannot all the time be on radio to be listened to. But when I tune in to Joy and I listen to, and the different types of researchers who have gone around there and done work, and you see that children are born without genitalia, they are born
lots of
deformities and so on. Tell me, what is it? But of course, again, it's a matter, we just have to take the decision. I believe that we only need a decision. But unfortunately, when you talk this, they will think that, you are interested in politics. But you see, politics is affecting us negatively.
Right.
My life is at stake. The future of my children is at stake. Everybody, it's not me alone. But the thing is, when you talk about community mining, and which I can hear the politicians are now trying to promote community mining, as if community mining is different from illegal mining.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Go there and see.
On paper, it may seem different, but the reality is the same.
Illegal mining. And I will tell you that, go and look at rubber plantations. They are encroached upon by this galamsey, oil palm. Even they go there and fight the workers and the money men there. So by the next 10 years onwards, those companies will not have land to continue to produce rubber, to continue to produce oil palm and the rest. So you see, the cascading effect is not only about cocoa, but beyond cocoa.
And there are other cash crops and food crops.
And again.
Maybe the final point.
Yeah, my final point is that, you see, we know land has alternate uses.
Yeah.
You can use it for oil palm. When it gets sometime, you think that you don't want it, you can cut down those trees and use it for maize or use it for rubber. This time, the destruction is permanent and irreversible. The destruction that is caused by galamsey to the lands is what? Permanent and irreversible.
In other words, you can't do anything with it.
You can't do, because we don't have the resources as a country, we don't have the technology, we don't have the capacity to reclaim those lands. Our rivers are silted. We don't have the resources and technology to dredge those rivers.
Mr. Karore.
I'm sorry, but that is it. And have you seen a country without rivers? This is where we are going to get to.
Well, apart from the Volta River, I don't know which ones are surviving now in Ghana. We are gradually getting there. Back then, you could go on an excursion to the Ankobra, the Pra,
and let me tell you what is
that.
happening in Burkina Faso.
Your children will not be able to do that because the Ankobra is like, it's like some beverage.
Let me tell you what is happening in Burkina Faso. What they do, they are...
We really have to go, but just that final point.
They go to the forest, dig boreholes, and dig ponds, pump the water into the boreholes, and get back to the cities and allow the animals, the wild animals, to also drink water. Because they starve. Dry season, there's no water. That's what they now do. So they are not concerned about they themselves alone, but they are wild animals.
For us, we are killing ourselves, and killing future generations. It's time to go. Is it that you have something to...
Well, maybe a last comment, and this is from Dr. Richmond.
We have to be quick with it.
Yes, he says that you need to stop galamsey. If you do that, you can increase cocoa production. Cocoa Board must also stop employing too many people, which have increased their operational costs. So according to Dr. Isuahene, if you are able to put a stop to galamsey, production will automatically go up.
Gentlemen, thank you for having joined the conversation. Edward Karewe is General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. Isaac Ofieje is here with me. He is here with us. He is a data analyst. Need we say more? Asemino, no. Intino. Befa no afa. Toasuma na toasum. Onfanswa yenina yetimubi. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. We'll be right back. I'll be joined by Sweetie Abochi, and then we'll give you our photo of the day, and we'll say goodbye. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back on the show. And of course, yesterday was Mother's Day. And that's our photo of the day. A mother's prayer. And her hands held up, a bit gnawed. And there she is. I wonder, though, whether she is not praying for a Ghana without galamsey. And a Ghana without misleaders.
In a Ghana where issues are addressed as issues and not political or partisan, banters between political parties. But
there it is.
In the spirit of celebrating our mothers, I like to say mothers are superheroes. I don't know how they do all the things that they do for us, but we all turn out nice and clean up and all that. So there, appreciating our mothers. And the prayers. They say a successful man is a man whose mother prays for him. I'm sure your mother has spent...
My mother is a very prayerful woman.
There you have it.
So I guess I am a grand beneficiary of some of those prayers.
Well, thank you so much for...
This has been our show today, Sweetie Abochi, and yours truly, bringing you the AM show for another beautiful day. My name is Benjamin Akakpo, and she is...
I'm Sweetie Abochi. Thank you so much for watching. We're back on your screens, and I hope your week is off to a great start. So see you again tomorrow.
Joy News Desk up next.